Hello there and welcome back to the channel and another episode of the So You Pick series where we look into your basic toolkit at level 15. Then we jump out into the field for some solo combat, lastly jumping into a control group combat environment to hopefully teach you a little bit more about your role and how it handles in a group situation. Today we're going to be looking at Rogue, the first non-starter class in the game, although it is classed as a starter by the community. The reason for this is because you can't pick it in the character creation stage, but you can pick it up quite early in the game. Level 10 if you start in Limsa, or level 15 if you start in one of the other cities. Due to Limsa being an island and you don't unlock travel to the other cities, air travel to the other cities until level 15 in the main story. However, if you start in Limsa, once you've done your level 10 class quest, that unlocks the ability to pick up all the other jobs. So if you start in Limsa, you can grab it at level 10. If you don't start in Limsa, you can grab it at level 15. Which doesn't take too long, to be fair. Doesn't take too long. Now Rogue is a fun class. I do enjoy playing a bit of Rogue, and by extension Ninja, which is what it turns into. Now they use daggers to slice and dice their enemies. There's a little bit of stealth moves involved. I'll get into that in the toolkit. That being said, let's jump straight in. Right guys, so at level 1 you will start with Spinning Edge, which delivers an attack with a potency of 230 and is your basic attack. Next up, at level 2 you will get a buff called Shade Shift. Now what this does is, this creates shadows that nullify damage up to 20% of your maximum health points. It's kind of like a defensive cooldown. Quite handy, especially early on, especially in solo. That buff lasts for 20 seconds and it has a 2-minute cooldown. Next up, at level 4, you will get your next weapon attack called Gust Slash. Now this delivers an attack with a potency of 100. It will combo off Spinning Edge, so obviously use Spinning Edge then Gust Slash for some extra combo potency, and that combo potency is 340. Right guys, at level 10 you will get a move called Hide. Now what this does is, you'll blend you into the surroundings, making it impossible for most enemies to detect you, but reducing your movement speed by 50%. It also has no effect on enemies that are 10 levels higher than your own. So if an enemy is 10 levels higher than you, then they will still spot you. And also certain enemies which have a special sight will also be able to spot you. You cannot use Hide while you're in combat. And if you use any action other than sprint, or if you reuse the Hide move, it will turn off your stealth status. Now this one's a bit strange because you can get use out of it in solo more. When you reach level 18 you'll get a move called Trick Attack, which you need to be hidden to use. That only really happens in solo combat, like solo, just before you start a fight. Prior to that, when you're at level 15, there's very little use for it unless you want to sneak past enemies, basically. It's a bit of a strange one. I don't think I've actually got it on my hotbar at all. Don't think I do. It might be hidden well back somewhere. It'd be somewhere on there maybe, because I think I have all the skills on my hotbars. But Hide I very rarely use outside of messing around with stuff. Now at level 15, your first class quest skill, you will get a move called Throwing Dagger. Now what that is, what the name suggests, you will throw daggers at your enemy. It delivers a ranged attack with a potency of 120. It's handy for pulling enemies further away from a group. If you don't want to fight the group of enemies, you can lure one away with the Throwing Dagger. I tend to use it more as I'm running up to attack the enemy just to get their attention. It's a cool move. It's kind of like the Lance's Piercing Talon. use it when you for a bit of variety every now and again. Next up, your second level 15 class quest, because rogues get 2 level 15 class quests. And that second skill is called Mug. Now what that does is an off-global cooldown ability, and that delivers an attack with a potency of 150, and it can be used every 2 minutes. It has an additional effect, which is interesting to say the least, which is that increases the chance of additional items being dropped by the target if Mug is dealt just before or as the last finishing blow. So in theory, if you were farming enemies for materials like skins and bits of bone and stuff like that, in theory you can, if you finish them off with Mug, you can get extra stuff from them. To be fair, it's very rarely used for that reason, and the increased chance isn't really enough to warrant using it all the time. It's nice. It's nice to use, but it's not like the be all end all. It's not the best. It's just not the best. Right, so that is the last of the normal class skills for level 15 rogue. We're going to jump straight into the role skills now. Now your role skills will be shared with Lancer and Pugilist, the other melee DPS classes. And as always, at level 8 you will get Second Wind, which is a nice self-heal with a Q potency of 500. It will restore your own health, and you can recast it every 2 minutes. At level 10 you will get access to Leg Sweep, which is a stun which stuns your target. You can recast it every 40 seconds. The duration is 3 seconds. Now, as I've mentioned in all the other ones with regards to stuns, stuns have a diminishing returns. So the first time you use it, it will last for 3 seconds. Second time you use it, it will last for 2 seconds. Third time you use it, it will last for 1 second. And then the enemy will become immune to stuns for, I believe it is 1 minute. Then it will reset back to 3 seconds. So as such, if you're in a group combat, you would very rarely use Leg Sweep. You tend to leave it to the tanks unless there's some very specific conditions where a DPS would use a stun instead of the tank. Either there's 2 moves in quick succession where you can stun them both. Now the tank will use his stun, and then his stun will be on a 30-second cooldown, or 40-second cooldown, sorry. And then the DPS could stun the second move, so that people didn't have to dodge out of the AoE. Very few situations like that, but that's generally what the DPS stuns for. Other than that, you'll work out as you're going through, you'll work out when the best time to use it is. So next up, the last role skill for Rogue is at level 12, which again is Bloodbath. Now what this does is, this converts a portion of physical damage dealt back into health points. For every skill that you use, every attack that you do damage with, you'll get a portion of that back as HP, so it's a nice little self-heal. Could class it kind of like a regen, but not really. That buff lasts for 20 seconds, and you can recast it every 90 seconds. So every minute and a half. And those are the role skills for Rogue. Right, so we're going to run out into the field, and we're going to jump into some solo combat. I'll see you over there, Rin. Right guys, we've made it out in the field. Now before we go into combat itself, I am going to quickly show you what hide does, and you can work out yourself if you have an area or something that you would want to use it in. It has its uses, but it's few and far between. So in front of us we have these three arbor buzzards here, and obviously the ones further back. They are aggressive enemies, noted by the red triangle next to the names, as opposed to the dodos over that way, which are all passive. Obviously you can walk through them no problem at all without them attacking you, and they won't attack you unless you poke them. So these guys, we are going to walk through these. If they do spot us, they will attack. So if you want to get through this area without being attacked, you've obviously got to make sure that they're not 10 levels above you. So in our case, it will be 26. Any enemies level 26 or above will see right the way through our stealth. But these ones are okay. So if you apply hide, you will turn invisible, and you'll get the hidden buff. And now you can just walk straight the way through the middle of them. And unless you target them and poke them with your little stabbers, or use another weapon skill, they won't spot you, and you can walk right the way through them. Nice, easy stuff. I think if you use sprint, then you will go back up to 100% speed. That's your walking speed. And then when you're in a safe spot, or you feel you're safe, you can use hide again, and it will turn it off. Now it has uses, like I said, not very useful in combat at all. Dungeon content, not even worth it, because as soon as combat starts, it removes it. So you will get no benefit from hiding in group content. So that's basically, that is hide. Has uses, very niche though. Right, so onto the main part of the combat. What I tend to do is, if I want to lure, so obviously those two arbor buzzards are quite close to each other. If I want to lure one of them away, because we don't have any AoEs, so you kind of want to lure one away from the pack, you would get in range and you would hit them with a throwing dagger, which will draw them across. And I would say pop Shade Shift and Bloodbath. Spam your combo, your main combo. Use Mug when you can. Obviously dodge AoEs. You want to keep Shade Shift up if you can, it's always worthwhile. It helps you dodge a whole load of attacks and you can fight a few more enemies. And lastly, just throw in a couple of... You can always throw in a couple of throwing daggers should you want to. And same as the other melee jobs. If you feel you're taking damage, you can pop Bloodbath, or you can stun them and run away, or you can use your bigger self-cure, but remember it needs to be used wisely because it takes 2 minutes for it to get 6 hours. So if someone ran across into that fate. Yeah, you can only use it every 2 minutes, so use it wisely. And try not to overpull. And that's basically it for solo combat. So we are going to go head off into the group situation. And I shall catch you over there. I just died in 6 arms tonight. Sorry. Sorry, I jumped into that. I helped with that Fate because I absolutely. Some of the Fate titles are absolutely chef's kiss to the localization. Right, sorry. On to the group combat. Right, guys. So now we're in group combat. Obviously your tank will keep his attention. You want to get yourself into a position roughly behind him. Now, like Lancer, At this point in time, you don't have any positionals to worry about, so you can kind of just stay put. As long as you're behind him, you shouldn't get hit by most of his attacks. Now, similar to the Lancer and Pugilist, we don't have any AoE moves at the minute, so we can't hit all enemies at the same time. So what you would tend to do in this situation, if you don't have any, you would attack the target that the tank is attacking, or you would team up with your other DPS and you would all attack the same enemy just to burn it down quicker. If you're all attacking this number E, if you're all attacking this letter E tamed puck, then it will go down a lot quicker, and rather than attacking multiple different enemies at the same time. Nice and focused target on them. And then lastly, this last guy, again, just get yourself in a nice position. Spam your Gust Slash combo. Throw a couple of throwing daggers in every now and again if you feel like it. Dodge the AoEs. Hit Shade Shift if you feel you're going to take some damage. And Mug when it's available, just for that little bit of extra damage. And that's basically it for level 15 Rogue. Nice easy stuff. Right guys, so that has been our first look into the Rogue class. Basic to begin with, still very fun. But like I said in the combat part, all the melee jobs kind of start off starting off very basic, and they add in more mechanics and more abilities in as they go along, and it gets slowly more complicated as you go along, as opposed to the mage classes, which tend to start a little bit more complicated and then kind of stay level as they're going along. Like they do ease you into even more complicated stuff, but they start a bit more complicated than the melee jobs, from personal experience. Now Rin, this is the last of the So You Picked beginner series. You've come a long way since we first started off. You'll be a master of combat in no time, I'm sure. Showing off, are you? Showing off. Flexing your muscles. That kind of threw us off a little bit. So Rin, you've done absolutely amazing. I hope everyone's enjoyed this series. If you haven't watched any of the ones, feel free to. They are all out there now. Rogue is the last one. We'll be jumping into... I'm trying to think what's coming next. I haven't fully decided. I know I'm probably going to do one on retainers. I need to do one on the Grand Company. And then once we get those two out of the way, I'll probably start on the intermediate So You Picked series, which is where the jobs first come into play around about the level 30 mark. So feel free to look forward to those ones. Thank you all for watching. Thank you all for the support on the series. It has been much appreciated. If you have found this video useful, hit me up in the comment section. You can contact us on the social media. Links are all on the end card and down below in the description. If you're new here, feel free to stick around. Come check out some other stuff we've got going on. We would love to have you here. If you're not new here, thank you again for the support. It is much appreciated. And you all know what's coming. Please like, share, comment, subscribe and all that jazz. And as always, we shall see you on the flip side. Bye bye.